It took me a while to admit this, but The Boys Season 5 kind of sucks. Okay, let me explain. It's been a whole week since the final episode of The Boys aired, and I haven't been able to stop thinking about it. And the more I think about it, the angrier I get because I can't believe this is what we got for the final season. This has made me look back to the previous seasons, and I have come to one conclusion. The events of the show, starting from season 4, have been inconsequential. If you go back to the first 3 seasons, almost every action and every decision had its consequences. Madeline lying to Homelander twice led to her death. A-Train using Compound V led to him having a heart attack. This allowed Annie and Huey to survive the first season. Also, Translucent finding the chip led to his death, which also led to Homelander finding out that Butcher is coming after them, which then allowed him to investigate the disappearance of Becca before he found out that Ryan was still alive. So if you go back to the first season, you see that there's a continuous thread between action and consequences. But from season 4, the show has mastered the act of pretending that there are real impactful consequences, and I will explain why. The first instance is Butcher's death timeline and his dark side. This caused him to kill Victoria Newman in the final episode of season 4. But the first thing season 5 did was... Wait, what am I saying? The first thing the trailer of season 5 did was go back on that decision, as Butcher does join the boys like nothing happened. So Victoria Newman's death was just for shock value. The new Black Noir added nothing to the plotline, and Sister Sage... Moving on. This lack of consequence problem was also evident in Gen V. I liked the first season and the characters, but I was not surprised when the show was cancelled. The first season of Gen V introduced the virus, but nobody significant to the plot died to it. The second season focused on the Odessa project and how Marie could be as powerful as Homelander. We saw her cure Polarity's tumor and bring her sister back from the dead. But what did that amount to in the final season of The Voice? The show wrote off all our progress with one line: what good is all that power if you cannot control it? Are they seriously trying to gaslight us that Marie cannot control her power? And all Marie contributed to The Boys after 2 seasons of Gen V was driving a bus to Canada. I'm not even sure if she was the one that drove the bus. That's all she did. And I understand wanting to give the main characters of The Boys as much screen time as possible. So then, why would the first season of Gen V end with Homelander attacking Marie? And why would the second season end with A-Train and Annie recruiting the cast of Gen V and saying they are part of the resistance? Like I said, inconsequential. Which brings us to season 5. The moment I should have known that this season was going to waste my time and I shouldn't take it seriously was when they wrote off the Flight 37 footage plotline as just AI. When I saw that the season started with Annie trying to broadcast the video, I thought, man, this season is starting guns blazing. But I was wrong. To write off something this important that has been seen and set as the first domino that needs to fall for Homelander to cause chaos as just AI is just terrible. There's no two ways about it. It's just bad writing. My biggest problem with the final season of The Boys is this is what Clara would have wanted. The little glimpse of the relationship between Soulja Boy and Liberty we got in season 3 episode 6 was that it was purely sexual. Not love, not undying devotion, just a sexual relationship. So where did this undying love come from, and why does it play such a massive role in the final season? My guess is, when they finally figured out what they wanted to do for Vote Rising, they realized that this type of relationship between Soulja Boy and Clara was important for the storyline in that show, and so they shoehorned it into the final season of The Boys. This season would have been a lot better if they focused more on the Gen V cast that we already know, rather than this Vote Rising bullshit. Anyway, eventually Homelander got V1, and what did he really do with it? Absolutely nothing. In the first 3 or even 4 seasons, you can get away with the threat and the idea of Homelander causing chaos. But in the final season, you actually have to show it. We actually have to see it. The world of The Boys actually has to feel the chaos that Homelander can cause. But we didn't see all that. The world of the boys will recover from Homelander rather quickly, and this should not be the case in my opinion. This is where the old scorched earth should have come into play, but we didn't get to see that, and this brings us to the finale. First question, why was Homelander so weak? It was almost like as if the show did not take him seriously anymore, and so us the audience did not take him seriously too. How was Butcher able to hold his own for so long? Watching the fight in Herogasm again, even Soldier Boy could not hold his own alone against Homelander. So I could not understand what was happening during that portion of the fight. An easy fix to this problem would have been just involving the Gen V cast in the fight against Homelander. Maybe Sam dies, Jordan and Marie both lose a limb. Just something to show the strength of Homelander before Ryan comes in, and then the fight now becomes a 2v1 with Ryan and Butcher against Homelander in the Oval Office. But instead of Scorched Earth, we got Scorched Oval Office. I don't really hate the finale, but I think it wasn't what it promised at all. All in all, season 5 of The Boys sucks. That season is only good at wasting your time with nothing significant happening. Frenchie died, a character we have been following since season 1, and I felt nothing. At least for A-Train's death in the first episode of season 5, I felt something because he had a good character arc. But with Frenchie, I felt nothing. So we went through all 5 seasons of The Boys just to get a nothing burger of a finale. Like, the nothing burger is better than garbage, it's better than trash. But it was still, tasteless. It was bland. There was nothing of substance there. I'm supposed to believe that Kimiko, who is weaker than the original Noah, who is weaker than Soldier Boy, is able to survive the experiment to get Soldier Boy's power. Yeah, that makes complete sense and I'll ask no further questions. Anyway, I thought Homelander's conclusion was very satisfying, even though I hated how we got there. I love that we got to see a pathetic man-child with no superpowers still be a pathetic man-child when he eventually lost those powers that made him feel invincible. I've been seeing a lot of people reviewed bomb the finale because of this fact that Homelander was weak. And I don't understand it. They showed you and they told you over and over that this is what will happen if Homelander does not have power. But I guess people were not paying attention. In what world is The Boys finale worse than that Stranger Things finale? Please, you guys should be serious. If you had told me in 2022 that Cobra Kai would have a better finale than The Boys and Stranger Things, I would have called you an insane person and then I'll make sure you got locked up in an institution. But that's the world we live in right now. Anyway, would I still recommend The Boys to someone? Absolutely. I still think season 1 and 2 are great and season 3 is the highlight and the best of the bunch. But I'll tell them that after season 3, have less confidence in the writers and stop paying attention to details because they will treat you like you are fucking stupid. Get ready to be done with all the weird stuff that happen in the show. And finally, expect a satisfying conclusion to one of the greatest comic book villains ever. And a mid-ending to one of the most iconic shows of the 2020s. And in this day and age, that's pretty much the best you can get, I guess. Oh, and appreciate the memes. That's all I've got for today. Like and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.